Slash your comments today and Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. How are y'all doing? I figured now would be the perfect time to make one of these videos. The Shadowkin, who's trash and who's worth building, but with the Sylvan Watchers. Sylvan Watchers Faction Wars has been added to the game, so more importantly than just who's good, who's not, I want to advise you guys on who I would consider using at level 50, who I think you can extrapolate some value from without having to use your hard-earned skill tomes on. Talk about that sort of thing throughout today's video as well. With that said, I did want to ask you a quick question, guys, before we get into it here. I've been getting this Patches, I love you, man, I love you. He's not on day 8 anymore. This is actually an old screenshot. He's on day like 50, asking me to compare previous top 20 champion videos to current top 20 champion videos here on the channel. I don't know, would you guys want to see that? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments below. Sylvan Watchers. So first of all, I just want to kind of say in opening that I'm a fan of Sylvan Watchers, like aesthetically. I think it's really cool. Like, what about you guys? I think the aesthetics, I mean, like, I could almost point at any of them, but like King Galkabar is one of my favorite, like visually. He just looks so freaking cool. As always, the artists at Plarium, they just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I love everything about it. I even love the background, like the little forest shrine or whatever they're at right now. So yeah, aesthetically, I love this faction, and it looks like, I mean, we'll be getting one more factions. I say sometime soon. It seems like we'll be getting one like every year and a half or so, right? So a pretty slow cadence, but there's still one hidden. What do you guys want to see out of this? Do you want to see them like totally break the mold and go step a little bit out of the fantasy genre with this? I don't know. What are we missing here in terms of like the popular fan? We have a lot, don't we, guys? I don't know. You'll probably have something, but maybe like robots?
You've never faced anything like this.
The cyborg.
Let them come.
I'm joking. No robots. Although that would be pretty cool to see what they could come up with there. Let's start with the legendaries, right? It's the obvious place to start, I feel like. Let's start with Elva Autumnborn. I think you can definitely make a case that she's the best legendary, certainly in the conversation out of, and I just want to poke fun at myself here, by the way. I noticed this in the background. 6-star these. Like, yeah, dude, we know that ninja's good, man. You don't gotta tell me to 6-star ninja. Okay, Ash. We'll try to do better with this thumbnail. We'll see what we can do here. Elva's amazing, man. I think she's one of the better supports out there in the entire game. I really feel that strongly about this champion. Let's start with the A3. She got a 3-turn revival, right? She got increased defense, increased attack on that ally. Again, a 3-turn, really, really good. Just solid champion. She's got the heal on the passive. She's got the cleanse in the block debuffs and the increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. That's really her claim to fame, along with that incredible passive, right? I mean, she's a great healer. She's got a continuous heal in the ally lowest HP, the big version. She gets a ton of heals. Like, that's the big thing that a lot of players might not recognize about this champion. I mean, she got the continuous heal and the passive heal, but it adds up, man. She's just a really, really S-tier healer out there with the revival and that amazing A2. So yeah, speed in all battles to boot. She's super fast, 110 base speed, S-tier, worth your books. Worth everything. I mean, she's kind of one of those champions that if you're lucky enough to have her or pull her, you kind of drop everything and you just max her out, you know, or at least whenever you get the resources to max her out, right? I'm acting like everybody has a stockpile of 100 legendary skill tomes. I got 0 personally. I got 0 right now. How many do you have right now, legendary skill tomes?
Please, sir, I want some more. What?
King Galkabar, man, I talked about him. I think this guy is, again, a stud of a champion. I think he's like A tier, right? 21k, 1200 on the defense, 108 on the speed. Again, really solid on the base stats here. He's got a shield on the ally lowest HP on this A1. It comes in handy, right? On the A2, he has kind of like opposite skills in the A2 and the A3, which I think synergize so well together, right? It's an AoE attack. He's placing poison, he's removing all buffs, 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. That's already great. And he's placing a poison for 2 turns on each enemy for every buff removed from them. It could be insane. It could be like tons of poisons on that ability. And then he's placing block buffs on the enemy for 1 turn to boot, man. That's a great ability. Poisons, a full buff stripper, and then block buff too with the AoE attack. Granted, no damage out of this champion, but still, I mean, no damage outside from the multipliers, but from the poisons, of course. And then hypertrophy, I always struggle with that word. I know what it means, right? But I always struggle with it. Anyway, a cleanse on all allies. He's placing a continuous heal for each debuff removed. You go into like Dragon 20 with this dude, you get like 15 continuous heals. I exaggerate a little bit, but a lot of them, all right? A shield on all allies as well. And on this passive, right, it just keeps going. Whenever an enemy under a poison debuff attacks an ally under a shield, instantly activates a poison, and then instantly activates a continuous heal on the ally, dude. Oh, man. He is a really, really cool champion. Amazing for progression. Great for Hydra with the A2. Okay, I can keep going on and on. I want to try to be somewhat brief on these champions. I'm already going longer than I wanted to. Oella! Listen, I did not. You can see the only legendary I don't have is Oella, right? So I'm not speaking from experience here, but I'll tell you one thing, guys. I regret not going for her. I really do, for this fusion. I think she's a really cool looking champion. I wish I had her. Again, base stats are on the money. 110 base speed. She's super fast. She got a decreased speed 100% on the A1. That's great. On the A2, a great heal. 30% of their max HP. It's their max HP, but 30% still a big, big, big girl heal. Increase the duration of all buffs. You love that, man. I love buff increased duration. I think it's one of the most underrated abilities in the game, truthfully. And then a turn meter fill by 30% on a 3-turn cooldown with the increased resist. Now, increased resist all by itself, it's not amazing, you know, but it's helpful. And that big turn meter boost. And then whenever an ally loses 15% or more of their max HP from a single hit, place a continuous heal on that ally for 1 turn. That is beautiful, man. She's Ult 10 of the Shell companion champion. He's not that good. I don't think he's good at all, actually. But on her own, I actually think she is in a resistant dungeons. You don't see that, right? I think she's a really underrated champion, personally. I think she's a great healer, great turn meter. I would call her A tier. I really would. Again, I regret not going for her. Sorry, some of these legendaries are super obvious, but hopefully more like strategy tips and stuff like that when we get to the epics and the rares. But Green Warden Ruark, another champion I actually think people are sleeping on, dude. I hate to be, banging the drum on all these champions. I would call him like a B+, maybe A-. First off, he is one of the only 2 champions in the game with taunt. He has taunt to increase defense and strengthen. He has taunt, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, but he has it for 2 turns. The dude has it for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown, but sometimes having it for 2 turns is even more valuable. Kind of like it's not exactly the same comparison, but kind of like the 2-turn provoke of like a Molly Tankard, right? Or an Umbral Enchantress, right? It's very, very good. Especially against the new boss, Shogun's Grove. Very, very good champion, trust me. I used him all the way up to level 24. And then you got a shield when an ally loses enough HP, whatever. He's got defense in all battles by 30%. Let me just say this, guys. On this dude, he's great for progression, right? He's got an increased defense and a strengthen on himself as well. Easy to make him stay alive. But I will say, and he has by the way, he has an AoE decreased attack as well. Stealing continuous heals. Why not? Can't be resisted. That's nice. Don't have to build him with any accuracy. Doesn't require accuracy, obviously, with the taunt, which is nice. And Spider Tank, man. He is a great Spider Tank.
How?
The affinity doesn't matter. He's got taunt, right? The Spiderlings are gonna be forced to attack him when that taunt is up. So you can use him. This is where he's super underutilized and under-recognized. You can use him as a Spider Tank. It's gonna be amazing, guys. Saoirse the Shard, I hate her.
That was fast.
She's the pay-to-win champion that you get after spending whatever, God knows how much inside the game. I did a guide on her. She's got an AoE HP burn. She's got an AoE decreased turn meters. Listen, man, I'm going to keep it brief on her. The people who have her, I don't think need her at all, right? She's a player in points champion, guys. I think that, I've said this before, I think that there's no comparison at all. Weird, oddly enough, she's got like some defenders in my comments. You guys come out of the woodwork whenever I talk smack about her. But she's like not even comparable to Walking Tomb Drang. He's so much better. Granted, different affinities, I grant you that. But I just don't get excited about her. I wouldn't waste my books on her. I don't think there's anything special about this champion, frankly. Give me Skrank over Saoirse the Shard. You know, that's an epic, void epic champion. So Aleel is a very polarizing champion, okay? A lot of people talk smack about Aleel, and I'm not really one of them. Again, This is the dude that you got to get it out of your mind that he's not Jirgid, he's not a Nutcracker, he's not an OP arena nuker. Because of this ability, man, it ignores Stone Skin, one of the only 2 abilities in the game that does that. However, it's not the multipliers, no damage there. So that's the real big downside in this champion. The good side on this champion is he has a really cool passive, increasing his survivability, filling his turn meter when they receive a buff. That works. This is a very powerful passive. Let me just say that. The A3 is so unique and so cool. It's removing increased defense, placing decreased defense, removing strengthen, placing weaken. Plays a block buffs on enemies not under increased defense and strengthen, and none of that can be resisted. His buff steal cannot be resisted on the A1. His kit, if you take away the damage, and don't look at him, even though he's supposed to be a 1630 base attack on attack-based champion. But if you're not expecting a ton of damage out of this dude, he's actually a pretty dang annoying champion to deal with in the arena. He really is. The no accuracy required. He just can't kill anybody, which is the big bummer. So I'm going to give him like a B-. Very unique, very cool, just not a lot of damage, which is a big bummer. But setting up as a secondary nuker in a flex role can be really cool. But again, he's still kind of one-dimensional. So come on, let it go. Sorry, I keep going back to him. He's still kind of one-dimensional, you know? Like, where is this gonna really help you in Faction Wars, you know? So as far as a Faction War champion, I'm really not investing in Elil. In the arena, I think he's a pretty cool niche champion, but he's certainly not meta, certainly far from it. Claydna. I have Claydna, and I was so excited when I pulled her, guys. Ironically, she's not a bad champion for Faction Wars. I just don't think she's a great champion overall. So you can use her in Faction Wars. She's going to be great. She's got a heal, 20% of this champion's max HP. You know, for me, that's about the same as the 30% of your allies' max HP. Obviously, it's not the same, but I look at them kind of the same. I give it the 10% penalty on that other one, right? An AoE decreased speed and a leech, certainly incredibly helpful for Faction Wars. A block debuff, a revive on death on all allies. Great ability on a 3-turn cooldown. And then she has a sleep on the A1 and a chance at blocking damage to her, not the entire team, on the passive. So overall, I think she's a great progression champion, which means includes Faction Wars. So I think you could definitely invest in her. Would I invest in her outside of that? Well, if you need this sort of a kit, yes. If you don't, no. I know it's super obvious, but let me just put it this way. On my account, which is an endgame account, I don't have a use case for her. There's nowhere in the game that I need her or use a skill set like this. Heck, you have an AoE decreased speed on like a Vizix and stuff like that, you know? So overall, her kit really reads well, but in practicality, I don't know exactly where you'd be using her, maybe Sand Devil, but there's other more viable, I feel like, Sand Devil strategies out there. But anyway, that's Claydna. If you like her, if you need her, use her. If not, don't.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
Cormac, the High Peak. I am not a big fan of Cormac. He has a decreased speed on his A1. He has a single target decreased defense, big version on the A2. The thing is, if he was the only big version decreased defense champion, I'd say, hell yeah, use him against the red boss. But you have a variety of options here of single target and AoE decreased defense champions. The only way that I would invest in this dude, he does have increased accuracy, increased crit rate, extra turn. It's kind of nice. Doesn't make him, you know, and his multipliers, despite a 1500 base attack, aren't insane. I checked all the multipliers before I recorded this video. So, all in all, he's an attack-based champion with a single target decreased defense. The only reason I would invest, and even at that, I'd probably just take him to level 50, guys. And I don't even know if I'd recommend booking this dude, guys. I really wouldn't. I'd pass on Cormac unless you absolutely have no option for decreased defense and you really need it. Other than that, I don't think you're going to get a lot of utility out of this dude outside of Faction Wars. Kellen the Shrike. This guy's actually really cool. I like Kellen the Shrike. He has a weekend. Big version, 50% chance on the A1. That's actually a really dependable clip. And big version of weekend is very hard to find, especially in this faction. So you got that going for you. You got a 2-time hitter with decreasing turn meter by 50% and a decreased speed on the A2. This is tremendous. It's going to make him one of the more stronger options for epic champions for Faction Wars. The decreased speed and the turn meter on the A2. Yes, please. 3-turn cooldown. Perfect Veil on this champion. Then he's got an AoE damage increases by 5% for each debuff on the target. On Call of the Shrike, he can deal some sneaky damage, guys. This guy is pretty good. He ignores shield when attacking under Perfect Veil on top of that. So all in all, I'm a big fan of Call of the Shrike. I'm not sure if it's still active, so I hesitate saying it. But if I can find it, I have a download link for new accounts. If you want to start a mini account or something like that, where you get a free Callum the Shrike. And I also have a guide out on him, a full guide on my Champion Guide YouTube channel. Lockwayne, I want to be honest, as I was with Oella. I don't have Lockwayne, okay? So I want to be upfront with the champions I don't have because I'm not speaking from experience. So Lockwayne, again, do not have, his multipliers are not that great. I think a 3.8 on his AoE. If I'm not mistaken. It was around that, right? He's got an AoE. He's removing Veils and Perfect Veils. He's removing a random buff as well. Not a bad ability, not a great one. A 2-time hitter, ignoring shield, resets the cooldown if you kill an enemy, but it wasn't crazy multipliers. And then increases champion's accuracy for each buff on each enemy. I'm not investing in Lockwayne personally. Let's see what the people think of him. He gets high ratings. I don't know. Personally, I think you can do better. But, you know, use him if you want to use him. What can I say? I would say I wouldn't book this dude personally. I wouldn't waste all these epic books on this guy just for a little bit of damage and maybe 1 buff removal personally. So there you go. Croydon the Blue. Croydon's a very interesting champion as well. I'm a lot higher on him. He's got a triple hitter with a freeze on the A1 and then an AoE ×2 each hit with a independent, again, 65% chance of placing a freeze. I think that Croydon the Blue is going to be one of the best champions for Faction Wars, right? Going to be great for getting through those waves if you need it, right? On the A3, he's got an increased speed, big version, and a turn meter fill on top of that. So he's got freeze, he's got increased speed, he's got turn meter fill. He's filling his turn meter for each freeze placed by this champion. Very, very, very good champion for Faction War. I mean, for Fire Knight, excuse me, and Faction Wars. Fire Knight, I have a guide on him as well on the channel if you want to see. I'll try to mention these champions that I already have full guides on the Raid Champion Guides YouTube channel. But Croydon, I'm a big fan of. I think he's worth the books as well, honestly, guys. Getting this down to a 3-turn, getting this down to a 3-turn, and then again, you can use him in Fire Knight Hard. Turn meter, remember that freeze is decreasing turn meter on Fire Knight Hard, okay? Duden! The dude! There he is, the dude at the dude! I actually am a lot higher on the dude after Shogun was released to the game. I am a believer in taunt for Shogun. As I mentioned, I ran, what's his face? Ruark? I ran Ruark in a lot of stages to help me get through. So I feel the same way about the dude, man. He's got an AoE. He's increased the duration of all buffs on all allies. I love that ability, granted on a 4-turn cooldown. He's bringing a shield as well. He's got a taunt and a strengthen and a counterattack on this champion. He goes into a chance of removing a random debuff from all allies on that A1. It works with, obviously, the counterattack. He's a great little sneaky cleanser built into that A1 and the taunt as well. So yeah, I would book him and use him for Faction Wars if you think you're going to be using him also in different areas of the game. You can use him as a spider tank as well, granted only a 1-turn taunt, but is on a 3-turn cooldown. So again, I think the dude is worth investing in. I really do. Again, for me, it's a no-brainer. Book him if you're going to use him in other areas. If you're just going to use him in Faction Wars, I think you can get by on using this dude unbooked, really. You know, it'd be really nice to have this to a 3-turn cooldown, but just getting that taunt up there, coming in with the shield on all allies, survivability, you know, heck, you can even put him in a shield set if you wanted to for extra viability out of this champion, increase the duration of buffs. Like, I think he's bringing enough to the table in the mini cleanse on the A1 that you don't even have to book him if you don't want to, you know? Heck, take him to, make him tanky, make him fast, keep him at level 50, unbooked, and just see what you think, you know, unless you already have him built out. Mist Rider Dathi. I love this dude, man. I think this guy's really good. He can help you out in a bunch of different areas. A random buff from each target, removing, granting an extra turn on the A1. On the A2, it grants an extra turn if the decreased defense is placed on all enemies by this skill. So here's your better option for decreased defense. It's on a 4 turn, but you get that extra turn. Ergo a 3 turn if you get the extra turn, but then you get another extra turn on the A3, right? So you're really reducing the cooldowns. Basically, you have a chance at reducing cooldowns on all of his abilities. So you get an increased attack and increased accuracy for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown when booked, man. Mist Rider Dathi is one of those champions that I think if you need a good debuffer, a force affinity debuffer, like alongside, I put him alongside like, Thylesia. I put him alongside her in terms of like some of the better force affinity debuffers, decreased defense champions inside the entire game. So if you're looking for that kind of kit, go ahead and invest. The nice thing is you don't have to build them with a lot of accuracy because you can just get a place to increase accuracy, then get the extra turn, go right into there, get another extra turn, go right into there, maybe another extra turn. He's a really fun champion, guys. My Celiac Priest Ornn. So he's a very, very cool champion. He's got 20k base HP, nice and hardy champion. You love it. He's got the big version of poison on the A2, and then he has instant activation of a poison on each hit on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2, right? He gets kind of not a bad rep. I think people discount him because of champions like Chronum and Ninja and other maybe better instant activators out there. Dark Kale being an epic version of a better instant activator. But after Dark Kale, man, like he's the second best epic instant activator in the game. Maybe with Venomage in there too, right? Now that I think about it. But either way, that's a really good ability, right? For some damage against a red boss, pretty good ability there. In AoE, Chase, 75% chance 3-turn cooldown, placing 2 poisons and a poison sensitivity. Heals this champion for each poison placed by this skill. Whenever a poison debuff is activated on enemy, increases the champion's HP and defense. Yeah, he's a really, really cool champion, honestly, guys. What do the reviews say on this dude? Yeah, they rank him pretty high here. He's a good champion because if you don't have Dark Kale yet, especially, right? If you do,
Not good enough for you, am I?
it really depends on if you need him for Faction Wars, in my opinion. But if you don't, I mean, he has a very close to legendary-esque kit. And he's pretty unique. They're kind of scarce, those instant activators, especially in the epic category. Ruella is an absolute stud. Just looking here, if I had to like power rank the epics in the faction, I would say Ruella, Dathi, and Naya are probably the 3 that I would choose if I was just drafting, you know? Like, that's how strongly I feel about these champions. I love some of the other ones, too, that I mentioned. 112 base speed, the first thing you need to know. That's a lot of base speed. You got a triple hitter with stealing turn meter on the A1. On the A2, another triple hitter with decreased defense and weaken and decreased speed. Wow, that's a really, really good ability right there. Really one of the better Fire Knight champions in the game. She's also got a turn meter fill and increased crit rate on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown, man. This is an exceptionally good kit for an epic champion, guys. Again, you can use her in Fire Knight. Can definitely use her as your main debuffer against the red boss where you really need the debuffs, right? So I am just a massive fan of Ruella. We have Edna Moonbeam. So Edna is an epic attack-based champion. Again, they get pretty high scores to her. I'm not sure if I agree. We get a decreased defense, big version, 40% land rate on the A1. A 3 times at random. Each hit, 100% chance of increasing the duration of a random debuff on the target by 1 turn. Not a bad ability there. An AoE with a leech on a 3-turn cooldown. I feel like this faction has a decent amount of healers out there already. So the only way I would personally invest in Edna Moonbeam, personally, to me, damage is the last thing that we care about. If this is an AoE, I'd be a little bit more excited about it. It's not an AoE, it's a 3-time at random. You could be hitting the same target, you know? Again, good against bosses, of course, right? Better against bosses, worse against waves. But an attack-based champion like this, not great multipliers. I'm not sure if I'm investing. Personally, I would pass on Edna Moonbeam. But again, I mean, the reviews, I don't put a lot of stock in them. Obviously, I would disagree with quite a few in this video. But not a terrible champion. I would just call her or him. Him? Her? They? God, don't cancel me, guys. I would call Edna, Enda, not Edna. Enda. I think it's a dude. Jeez, oh God, man. Osama, fix this. Man, editor, fix this.
Not my department.
Enda Moonbeam, I would not invest in him personally, but of course, if you guys like him, go ahead and do so. Next up, we have Wearing on the Silken. Now listen, if you don't have, this is important, if you don't have Elva Autumnborn, and you need a good reviver, you're looking at her. She's going to be it, right? We have a decreased attack on the A1. We have a turn meter fill and then an increased speed on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown. We'd love to have that on a 3-turn cooldown. Should be so much better, but still, we'll take what we can get. Revives a dead ally, 50% HP, 30% turn meter, continuous heal on that ally for 2 turns. 4-turn cooldown. It's not a bad revival for an epic champion. So she's going to be kind of your backup reviver. So if I had her and I didn't have Elva Autumnborn, I would invest and I would book as well. I feel like there's quite a few increased speed champions out there, and I don't look at as increased speed as a must-have buff on my team, but it's certainly a nice-to-have buff. But you know, overall, she's bringing speed and faction crypts. To me, she's a very, very good faction crypt champion who you're probably not going to be using too many other areas in the game. So, hey, even with this champion, if you're only going to use her in faction wars, you can take this champion. I just want to make sure I mean this. You can take this champion to level 50. Seriously. And you might even try her out without books first and see if you can get by and then use your books. But again, I mean, the decreased attack is nice, but there's a lot of books there. This is nice. Still, I mean, at least the books all go to cooldown. That's the good news. But you know what? You could just run her as a freaking aura lead, throw a shield or a bolster set on her, and just have her as a break in case of emergency reviver on your team, and I think you could do a lot worse. Okay, next up is going to be, of course, White Dryad Naya. I alluded to this earlier, but she's one of the best champions out there in the faction. She's amazing in so many different areas that I would recommend investing for like probably, I don't know, 80 to 90. If you don't have Krisk, I would consider investing in White Dryad Naya. She's like a mini Krisk in a lot of ways. Not every way, but she's got an AoE decrease, the same A1 as Krisk, an AoE decrease speed, great for Hydra, right? On the A3, I'm going to get to the A2 in a moment here. Big version Ally Protect and a weak version Strengthen, but still Strengthen is hard to come by, especially on epics. This is a very good, probably one of the best damage mitigation abilities out of any epic inside the entire game. And I'm not being hyperbolic there. I really mean that. We're getting a flat out 65% damage mitigation on a 3-turn cooldown. 50% soaking up from the ally protection, 15 more from strengthen. That is massive. They're both 2 turns, and again, it's on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. I can't overstate it enough. That's really good. This ability is so good too. It's a 3-turn cooldown. You're cleansing an ally, you're healing the ally, and then you are decreasing the cooldown of all of the target skills by 2 turns. That is very unique. It's a sick ability. It's very, very good. And you get to choose the ally, right? Whenever the champion's healed, heals everybody else except this champion by 20% of that heal. You get a little heal echo going on. Very, very good champion. Definitely worth investing in. Definitely worth booking. Pathfinder Kate. Some of you guys really like Pathfinder Kate. She's got a block buffs on the A1. Okay. And AoE, it's not high enough for me to get excited on it. 35%. But when it does land, it could be handy, right? But still. In AoE, we have a 50% chance of increasing the duration, the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 2 turns. This is a very, very good A2. Pathfinder Kate, I have not maxed out, but I would definitely advise you guys, especially if you don't have a ton of champions. Maybe only have a couple epics and maybe 1 legendary, maybe even none. I think that Pathfinder Kate can be a great control champion. You know what? I would invest in Pathfinder Kate, especially if I didn't have Croydon the Blue, right? Because Croydon, he's kind of got the lockdown on the CC. He's got the freezes everywhere, really good dependability there. But Kate, 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 2 turns. That's really good for a rare. It's not game-changing, but it's good for a rare. It's good control. And that's her only active skill. So what you can do is with Pathfinder Kate is you can take her to level 50 if you want to. Save your chickens, right? Save your food. Take her to level 50. And this builds her pretty fast and tanky. Don't worry so much about the damage. She's an attack-based champion, but you can put her on a reflex set, right? Then you have a 40% chance to reduce the cooldown of this ability, and it's going to be like basically kind of on a 2-turn cooldown, you know, if things go right, if you have good RNG. And that's going to be pretty good. You can also put her in a stun set. And again, just keep coming back to this A2 and help lock down the waves in that way. So there's a couple different ways to use this champion other than just damage. But with all that said, a Perfect Veil whenever this champion kills an enemy, nice to have. With all that said, I don't think you're going to be using this champion in too many areas outside of magic or rare only secret rooms in Doom Tower or Faction Wars. So again, with this champion specifically, I would take her to level 50 and see if you like her, see what kind of utility you can get out of her, and then make the decision if you want to go to 60. She probably is worth booking, especially if you're sitting on a lot of rare skill tomes. Margrave Green Hawk. There he is. He's an HP-based champion who hits very, very weak, okay? He's got a continuous heal on the ally, lowest HP on the A1. I don't mind these abilities. Doesn't require any books or anything like that. But look at all the books on the A2. 3-time at random, each with a 70% chance of placing a provoke. Reflect damage as well. And the A3 is an ally protect and an increased defense on this champion. So this dude, I would use him, and believe it or not, I would probably book him if you didn't have Naya, White Dryad Naya, who has a much better ally protection. It's on a 3-turn. It's the big version, right? But also, I feel like that provoke is pretty dang good, you know, for a rare champion on that A2. It's, again, it is a, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Hello there.
There we go. He's got that 3-time random, 3-turn cooldown, 70% provoke. With the reflect damage is not going to be a game changer, but I do think that he's a little bit more than meets the eye. The fact that he is an HP-based champion makes him very easy to keep alive too, which is nice. So he'd be another good candidate for a shield set. Now, I want to be clear here, though. I would only invest in him if you lack better options, right? He's not a must max or anything close to that. I thought it was going to be such a shorter video. My bad. And I apologize to Osama, my editor, as well.
I am dead inside.
Loneblade Ryab. So he's currently the fusion champion. This dude was the previous fusion champion, the Rabbit. Loneblade. He's got a 2-time hitter with a turn meter fill, a 2-time hitter. First shot, decreased defense. Second shot, weak version of weaken. And then his passive is each hit from this champion deals extra 5% of the damage if the target's under those debuffs. I personally think he's trash. I would stay far, far away. I would never invest in this champion. I don't like his kit at all. Shadowbow Turlak. He's got a Veil on all allies for 1 turn. It's a very unique, an AoE Veil is very unique for a rare champion to have. Keep in mind, we're going to be getting 7.5% AoE damage mitigation when anybody under a Veil, right? The Perfect Veil has 15% AoE damage mitigation. A lot of people forget about that or don't know about that for new players. He's got that, and he's got a shield, 20% of this champion's max HP. It's a pretty dang good shield if you can scale his HP up. Given that his base HP is only 15k, I would definitely focus on all of my accessories on this champion. I would want them to be HP. HP on the ring, HP on the amulet, HP on the banner, sorry. So an AoE with the weak version of increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. I'll keep it basic with this dude. He's defense base, which is nice, so he's easy to keep alive despite the semi-low HP. So he's a pretty tanky champion. If you don't have another increased speed option, he can be a really good addition to your team. He's another champion who, if you want to, you could put in a stun set, you know? He's got an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. He does have this ability that's not doing any damage, though. But he's a pretty easy champion to build, you know? Just survivability, basically. And he does have a 50% decrease attack on his A1. This is a sneaky little add-on in his kit. Not an add-on, but it's the small version, excuse me, of the decreased attack, not the big version. But if you don't already have it, or you don't have another decreased attack champion built with enough accuracy to land it, he's definitely a viable choice. Decrease the damage received from skills by all allies under Veil or Perfect Veil by 5%. So again, that's a 5% damage mitigation that's stacking with the mitigation of AoE damage by 7.5%. So there's a lot more than meets the eye with this champion. Again, I would invest, especially if I didn't already have an increased speed champion on the team. He is a champion that really needs to be booked though. 2 turns booking here, and again, you get the 2 turns booking there. 4 turns on 2 abilities that have pretty high cooldowns anyway. I think he is worth booking. Tree Shield Not. He's the last champion of the video, guys, and he's very good. He's very good. He would be your 3rd option for a reviver if you don't have either of the other 2 that we've spoken about so far. He's got a triple hitter with decreased attack on his A1. Now we're talking, right? Great for Giant Slayer Mastery. Great for a little bit of sneaky damage if you want to go Masteries on this champion. He's got a heal, 15% of their max HP on a 3-turn cooldown. He's also got an increased defense on all allies with 2 turns. Guys, you may or may not have noticed, but there's no Hatatsu in this faction, right? There's no really good increased defense champions. There's a lot of ally protects. There's some strengthens in there. Not a lot of good options for increased defense, right? Here's one, and it's a rare champion. Tree Shield Not. I actually maxed this dude out, and I'm happy I did. He's really cool. I'm gonna use him in some rare only faction war. Secret rooms. So yeah, getting the increased defense and that heal on a 3-turn cooldown, very good. And then he's got a 2 random ally revival on a 5-turn cooldown, right? So he's got like kind of a little Caden built in, not as good as Caden's ability, but there's quite a few of them out there, right? The 2 random allies. Only difference is he's only a rare. So he's definitely a rare, especially if you're going to use him in other areas. And you might tell at this point in the video, I've said that a few times, right? It's kind of a litmus test for me, whether I want to fully invest in a champion. If I'm pretty confident I'm going to use them in other areas and dungeons and secret rooms and Doom Tower, wherever, Hydra, then I'm way more apt to book them out. But if it's just for faction wars, well, by golly, before I take them to 60, before I use my books on them, I'm going to see if I can get by without doing it. Basically, that goes for every champion, right? Try first without. If you can't make progress, if you can't beat faction wars, then try doing it. Don't waste your resources ahead of time if you don't have to. So guys, thus concludes the Sylvan Watchers, guide here, all the champions. Sorry, again, a little bit longer than I wanted this video, but hopefully you guys found it helpful. Let me know if you did or you didn't in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. As always, take care, guys.